Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. Apologies for the lack of videos. It's been a fraught few months, if I'm honest with you, and I didn't really feel like I had anything that I was ready to share. I've had disasters, project stalling, issues with getting stuff registered, natural financial issues and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully we're starting to get to a point where we're getting back on track. And I will have some more stuff to share with you over the next coming weeks and months. So I thought I would just drop a video here to show you a vehicle that I've just taken delivery of, which I actually swapped for the Tacky Taxi, if you remember that video. So this is a little bit of a departure from what I normally work on. And I've just got a bit of tinkering to do before I put this straight up for sale. And I thought it'd be a real missed opportunity to not share it with you, because I found myself falling slightly in love with this vehicle. So I wanted to share it and yeah, show you around really. So let's take a look. So, do you know what this is? Do you know what? If I'd have seen it 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't. But this is a 1949 Austin 16, so-called 16 because it has 16 horses under the bonnet, if you like. And yeah, I took this in trade for the taxi from a really nice gentleman. Now this vehicle has some really fascinating history in that it was one owner from new in 1949 until January this year, and it has been off the road for 40 years. It has undergone a sort of mechanical overhaul, recommissioning, so things like the brakes have been done, new rear tyres, everything's been gone through basically, and it now runs really, really well. However, the paintwork needs a little bit to be desired, as you'd expect from a vehicle of this age, but that isn't what we're going to be interested in here. We want to make this a nice, very usable vehicle. So as you can see, it's just got the most incredible lines, and I think it looks a lot like an American vehicle. It's got suicide front doors, which I love, and just really nice lines all around, and then it has really cool rear split windows. Kind of, I guess, has a bit of a feel of a kind of Ford Pop kind of vehicle. And yeah, for a British car, like I say, I'm not really a British car guy, but this one has really got me taken. It was registered, the EY registration in Anglesey in North Wales, which is a place that I have a lot of affection for. My parents lived there, my brother was born there. So the fact that it is from Anglesey as well just has that little bit of sparkle for me. But the front end especially is just breathtaking. But also when you look inside, it's magical. So just got this beautiful leather interior with armrests on both sides of both of the front seats, and then when you jump inside, it has all of the sort of Bakelite. So I've got the dash out at the moment, but like the Bakelite interior, Bakelite steering wheel. It's got safari front window, so this opens out forwards. It's got a sunroof. It's just a really, really cool thing. Nice to drive. 4-speed manual, and yeah, pretty much everything works. So I've got a few jobs that I want to do with it before I throw it up for sale. And yeah, I really just wanted to get it done nice and quickly, because I think this is a car that I don't want to invest a huge amount of money in, because I think it will be a great sort of just running car for people to use, enjoy at the weekends, take places. And if they wanted to take it to the next level, to do stuff with the paint, they can. Although I think the paint reflects the fact that it is 75 years old, and that's what happens when a car's that old, really. So there's a few bits I need to do. Let me show you what those are. So yeah, if we pop the bonnet, we have a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder engine. I believe very similar to the engine that's in the Austin Healey as well. Still has the original Zenith carburettor, and that all works great. It's had a electronic fuel pump upgrade, and obviously it's got a 12-volt battery now. So under here, there's a couple of bits for me to do. The washer motor is seized, so I'm probably going to put a new one of those on. Windscreen wipers need connecting up, and the horns need connecting up. And I'm going to give it a clean. I've got some new air filters coming, so we're just going to basically give it a once over and make sure everything under here is working, and tidy it up a little bit, I think, because it's just wants a bit of love under here, tidy up the wiring and stuff like that. But again, not a huge amount, just things like getting rid of like a proper choke ferrule on there, and the battery's held down with cable ties, so I want to do something about that. So again, nothing major, but mostly electrical stuff. Inside, when I got it, there was no key. So there's been sort of this is a switch for the electric fuel pump here, and then there's a switch for power down here. And what I managed to do is get hold of a key, which was brilliant, thanks to my friend Andy recommending me a chap locally who could get a key. And so I've now reinstated the original ignition here, which is awesome. I'm going to try and reinstate the new start button, but I think that might be gone. So if that is the case, I'm going to put a new start button down in this hole here and just make it, yeah, so it all works. The lights work. I need to get the horn working, and ideally I would like to get the trafficators working, but I don't know if that's going to be possible because I don't know how they work. I think they're electromagnet, so I'm going to see if I can get some power to them and see what happens with that as well. But fundamentally, what I want to do is just give it a tidy, give it a clean, get it clean under there, new air filters, tidy up the wiring, because it runs and drives already, and we just want it to go to the new owner as something that they can use every single weekend. The only other thing I need to do is fix the hood latch, which is going to take a little bit of fabrication. So I want to do that because it was held down with a bungee, which isn't becoming of such a handsome vehicle. I did just want to show you, it even comes with the original instruction manual from 1949, which is so actually very useful because it's got wiring diagrams in there, and it came with a load of old MOT. So some really wonderful history. Like I say, a one owner car from 1949 to 2025, incredible piece of heritage there. So yeah, what a super cool vehicle. Not much to share, but basically I'm just tidying up, getting rid of all these Scotch locks because I hate those. It's a positive ground car, which is unusual, which I've never dealt with before, but I've managed to get everything working. I installed a new washer wiper motor there, and now the horns work, windscreen wipers work, everything works. But I want to get rid of these, and then I can wrap the loom up and get it nice and tidy under here before giving it a clean. So yeah, not much to report other than getting rid of all these horrific things which just aren't reliable. So I guess while I'm wrapping all the wiring with loom tape, it's a good opportunity to give you a bit of an explanation as to where I've been and what I've been up to. So yeah, I've had a couple of issues, shall we say. Firstly, the F100 finally got registered, which was such a great day, and I did loads of work to it, and I have recorded that content, and I do intend to put it out there eventually. But sadly, at the point it was finished and I had a buyer lined up, on the kind of first big shakedown, the differential decided it didn't want to be a differential anymore, the rear differential. And owing to some shoddy work in the past, unfortunately, when we looked into it. And I'm in a bit of a limbo with that because sadly I don't have any money or the expertise to fix that. It's beyond me to rebuild a differential. I want it to be done properly, but sadly, without any income, I can't pay for that to be done. So I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is selling it as a project, which is brutal, really, because it was actually, when you see the video, it was in a really good place, and I was really excited that we had a buyer lined up for that, and it was going to be a really good thing. So that was very frustrating, devastating, really. And then at the same time as that, I had the RAM charger. So again, finished, I filmed the content and had a buyer lined up for that, and just waiting for it to get registered. And it's been incredibly frustrating because I imported it from Hungary ages ago, and the company who imported it, when they imported it, they sent me all the paper, the detail, it was all done, I paid them the VAT, and it turned out what they'd done is not actually given HMRC the VAT. And so the car was then not actually, we didn't have an over for it. So I then had to go through the wrangling with the original import people, who basically said they'd subcontracted it to someone and they'd not done it. And that took weeks of them trying to chase the subcontractor. And in the end, I just had to say, my contract is with you, not with your subcontractor. So you're just going to have to pay it again, which they've done. And it's now apparently cleared. And, but for some reason, there's some massive delay. And I've got someone else dealing with the registration, and they're equally not really pulling their finger out. And it's been several weeks, and I had a buyer lined up, and they've sadly pulled out because it's taken so long, completely understandably. And that person I really liked as well. So more disappointingly is, you feel flaky because they're constantly like, what's happening? And I'm constantly chasing the other person. And basically a combination of those two things just made me not want to do this anymore, and make me perhaps realize that the brutal reality is that Boyd's Car and Classic isn't a viable business, and I'm not going to make a living from doing it, because you rely on other people, and other people, the sad reality is, are either unreliable or incompetent, or both. And yeah, that's not cool. So not been a good few months, and because of that I kind of lost my appetite for doing videos. So I didn't want to have to share all this nonsense and like the constant it's nearly ready, not cool. And so I've had to try and look for a living elsewhere, and what I really don't want it to do is to ruin my passion for working on classic cars. So where I'm at the moment is, I've managed to trade the taxi for this, which has been good to kind of get that moved on, and hopefully I can sell this and it will keep the lights on in the workshop for a little bit longer, because basically I'm at the point where I really just don't want to lose the workshop. It's such an incredible thing to have for someone who's as passionate for classic vehicles and bikes as I am. To have this workshop is just a dream come true. So I'm going to look at how I can sort of keep hold of the workshop, whether I rent space out to people or those kind of things to do that. And I'm basically going to gradually sell off everything I've got. So like I say, this will go, hopefully the RAM charger will be registered imminently. And you know what, I really want to drive that for the summer because I love that thing. So, but it will be up for sale. Hopefully we'll be able to sell that. Likewise with the F100, hopefully I can sell that as a project. It's still such a fabulous vehicle. And then I've got a couple of other, so I've got the Bronco you would have seen. I've got someone who's interested in that to just go. And I'm basically going to get back to a point when I just have a personal vehicle project to do for myself, and just do one at a time for my own pleasure. And so I can still share that. So I don't think from your perspective anything will really change apart from the frequency of what I upload, because I'm going to have to get a job, and do something to support my family. So yeah, that's kind of what's happened. It's been a bit soul destroying, but my spirits are still high. I don't want it to sound like a real whinge, but it's just, I think there's just the cruel reality that in the current climate, it's a bit brutal, because you kind of think, wouldn't it be amazing to earn a living doing what you love? And at the moment, it's just not possible, you know, and that sucks. So we keep on plodding along. Like I say, I'll get this done and we'll have a cool vehicle to sell, and that'll keep the lights on in the workshop for a few more months whilst I try and work something out and get the other stuff sold. So I'm going to keep on doing this, and then I'll show you the fruits of my labour, and we'll get this thing out into the sun and clean. All right, that's the wiring all tidied up. It still looks like a bit of a mess on the camera actually, but it looks a lot neater and tidier. So now I'm going to pack up all this rubbish from doing all the wiring, clear this up, and I'm going to get to sort of cleaning and degreasing under here, getting it looking a bit nicer, ready for getting some good photos. Last job-ish, apart from cleaning. This was missing, the bonnet latch, and it turns off the emblem here, which is super cool, and that needed reinstating. So what I did was cut out a bit of steel in the shape of sort of the key that goes in here, cut a bit of spacer out, drilled a hole in it so I could put a cotter pin through it, welded it to that, and now that works as a hood latch, which I think is going to look a lot better than the bungee rope. So I'm going to go and get it clean now. So I will show you, I have already started to clean under here. So look how much better the rocker cover looks with all the wiring and everything. Yeah, looking good with the new filter. I'm going to clean the outside now, get some photos, and we're done. Okay, that's a wrap on the 1949 Austin 16, and I've really enjoyed the couple of days I've spent working on this. It's great to know that in the couple of days we've had it, it will leave here better than it has been for a long time. So we've fixed the ignition and reinstated the original one. We've got the original key that works in the door as well, which is excellent. Fixed the bonnet latch because we don't want a bungee jump on there, and I've sorted out all the wiring, so everything from the heating, the windscreen wipers to the horn, everything works, which is awesome, and it drives fantastically. I think the new owner's going to have a really interesting decision to make, because do you keep it original? You know, it feels like at 75 years old, it's earned the right to be kept as is, but it would be cool to maybe put some proper indicators on it, or, you know, perhaps even sort the paint, but that'll be a decision for the next owner to make. And I'm going to put this up for sale for £3,750. So if that's of interest to you, please do let me know, drop me a DM. Likewise, if the Ram Charger or the F100 are of interest, I will be putting more content about on those. I will be wrapping those ones up as well, so please do bear with me. But I think I've really enjoyed this, and I think going forwards, as I transition Boyd's Carton Classic being my job into being back to a hobby, this is the kind of thing I'll be doing more of. I've got one long-term project that I want to do for myself, and I'll be looking for opportunities to do little projects like this that I can share with you. So do subscribe, do like, do all that good stuff, and I hope to catch you again very soon, perhaps at a show. Take care.